Hey, gifts.
Wow.
Hey,
My heart,
gifts.
my heart, my heart. Hold on, let me get myself together. I was
No, that
actually,
was just me. That was just me telling you that
Look at
oh,
this.
I'm a bigger
Because
person.
she
I'm
wanted
not
to
like
call,
you.
she wanted to report her hair. I'm sure your hair wasn't like this.
what'd you say?
I'm sure your hair wasn't like this gift.
I had to.
Hey!
What
You're
the fuck?
prepared to see only half of you face in this whole conversation.
I've seen my full face. I don't do that. I don't do that.
First
But
of
no,
all, first
no.
of all, first of all, before you move on, because I don't forget this. It's nice to see you actually talking, showing that
I
you're feeling better.
Yeah.
yo, in case you didn't know, I went through a traumatic experience.
Oh, God.
She took out 4 wisdom teeth.
I got my 4 wisdom teeth pulled out, and oh my god,
Anyway,
it's been crazy. But I'm talking now. I feel so much better. But
God
yeah,
is good.
but
and the dentist was good too.
but no, I'm just thinking back to actually when I met Corday. I was like, my mom actually told me about it. She was like, "Oh, my friend's son is in your school." I'm like, okay, I guess I'll text him on Instagram. Let's message this guy.
She did text me first. I mean, she
I
knew me
did.
by name, so.
I was like, hey, his attitude was very dry first. I was like,
He was
okay.
forming, Abby.
Yeah, he was like, we'll meet up. I was like, yeah, let's meet up. And then we finally met up. I mean, he had that high top hair at that point.
And his
Good.
head was looking like a pineapple, right?
I'm confused. What is the motive of this conversation?
No, I'm just
Okay.
asking
Okay.
her.
Now, oh, so you even told me no, you told me to fuck up. Did you say that? You said that, right?
I told you what.
Did you just say F off to me?
You too fun.
No,
Oh,
I
yes.
didn't mean it like. I didn't mean it like. And she's talking about when I was talking about the shirt.
Oh, yes, so
I
he said
didn't.
it now.
So
I
I'm
didn't mean like that. I was just saying everybody's anybody has to see it. It's not hitting me. And when that's on me, I just okay. She didn't complain. So
How do you know she was okay?
because if she was not okay, she would talk.
On here. How do you know
Yes,
she
because
didn't
she's my
send
mother.
me
I
a
know my
text
mother.
on
Don't worry.
WhatsApp?
It's okay, man. What is this? This is what she does.
this
Please,
this is what
we're
already.
not. We don't focus on
Oh,
fickle things like that.
this
Say
guy.
fickle things.
Not fickle things. Man.
Okay, so what kind of banters are you guys for?
Anything.
Um. Oh my God, I'm trying to see.
Wait, you're supposed to be thinking before you come alive.
Leave her.
You're right. You're right. Okay, let me call. Let me think. And call. Someone else can come. So I don't. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
But no,
yeah.
I think we're actually still recording. I just had to say you will never hear me say this again ever. Like I swear. Again.
I'll hold on to this for the next 10 years. Literally, that's how long it's going to be.
Nah, I don't think it should be that long. She will say it again on your wedding day.
Okay, maybe that. And even that she said like, oh, I can imagine giving that of and she'd be like, oh, I guess it's okay. Congratulations, I guess.
No, I don't do best friends either. I don't say what's my best friend. I think I told her already this. But I can definitely say, yeah, you're close. That's all I could say. Let's leave it at that. Cause yeah. Anyways, all right. Bye, y'all.
Go and think of your banter. Bye. Who is him? Who is him?
Oh, that's my coworker, Herbert.
Oh, for real? Hello. What's his name?
Herbert.
What?
Herbert.
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 No, you
can't. That's how Nigerians call that name. Herbert.
Herbert.
It's Nigerians say Herbert Macaulay.
I don't even know if he's still here. Hey, Herbert.
All right. Okay. Hi, Herbert.
All right.
I buy gift. Banter. What are you going to talk about? I have a question.
No.
Herbert. Oh, there. What's he be Nigerian? He's Herbert. If he's a Nigerian, then you can call it however you want to call it.
Woo! How do you know the person is not Nigerian? Sorry.
Ajay.
60. Joshua, you're looking sweet.
You're looking juicy.
No, I look good.
You're looking nice. You're looking
good for real.
You're looking very young. You're glowing. Are you pregnant? How far now?
I did, man. I did. Just testing.
Waiting there.
So what's going on? What's today's topic, yo?
we decided to make Thursday just banter, anything everybody else talk about. Because
Oh,
that,
that's crazy.
you remember that's how she was initially when we first started this thing from.
True,
Yeah, so
true.
we decided to make Thursday the more banter, anything everybody else talk about. So, what do you want to talk
Okay,
about?
I have a concept. I actually have a concept that I was talking about 2 days ago. I was studying at church, and my girlfriend was asking me about because she was saying, "Oh, like because I'm like damn near atheist, so I don't believe in like spiritual nothing." Blah blah blah. I was talking about the Beyonce video and how people were like, "Oh, this is don't go and blah blah blah. That's demonic. Be careful what you're watching." And then you know how I feel about that. I was like, like as far as I'm concerned, it's all kind of make believe all together anyway. But why would you just be so willing to accept, some other people's stuff than your own, and then throw away your own stuff? You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, at the basis, it's all kind of the same concept. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're giving your life to Allah, you're giving your life to Christ, you're still giving your life to something. You're still sacrificing something to gain something. And that's how spirituality works. But aside from that, she was asking me about if I don't believe in, like, because I like the laws of thermodynamics say energy is neither created nor destroyed, blah, blah. So she was like, so what do you think happens when people die? Like, if energy is neither created and destroyed, then the energy that is you, right, got to go somewhere, right? Something has to happen with it. And I was like, damn, it's true. So I was like, man, like, what do you think? So when we talk about like the you, right, the energy that is you, we're referring to like your consciousness, right? Remember we had this discussion that like consciousness is not something that is unique just to human beings because other animals have a roach to a certain extent is conscious. It has a certain level of sentience, right? So I was like, well, okay, if we describe consciousness, your consciousness as energy, your consciousness is how energy displays itself. Just like you have genes, right? You have hard genes, and then those genes phenotypically display themselves and make you look how you look. But at the end of the day, it's just information that is displaying itself in that way, right? So I say, yo, like if your consciousness is energy, then think about your brain as a computer or a machine that's able to take that energy, right, that normally exists and repackage it and then express it and then make you feel the sensation, experience the sensation, the illusion or the phenomenon that is consciousness, right? And that's why we see that like other animals may have consciousness, but we can see definitely we have a different level of sentience than a cat or than a worm because the hardware, right, that they have. Yeah, that makes sense. The hardware, like think of consciousness as a software. They don't have the hardware to be able to run a upgraded level of consciousness, right? So I was like, okay. So when you die, that all that energy, all that organized energy that makes you know who you are, right, is no longer organized. It just goes out and becomes part of all the other energy, whether it's solar energy or whatever in the world. So I thought that was interesting. If you go to church on Sunday, you see on the board I drew I drew a diagram.
You know what's interesting? Even as you're saying that, I was thinking to myself, especially someone that believes in God and believes in the supernatural and spirituality and everything. As you're talking, I was just running through my head the ladder of existence of beings. And I was just thinking to myself, okay, me personally believing that there's God and then there's the God that created us and us that creates other things like computers. Obviously us, like the explanation you gave obviously being in the context of the computers that we create and the knowledge that we have. You get what I'm saying? So I'm thinking to myself, that's interesting because it's almost like we are displaying the let's create man in our image. We are displaying that part of God's image in us. When we create things that are like us, not up to us, but are similar to us. And it's almost
That's
like,
the goal. The goal is to create up to us.
and it's almost like, it's that kind of thing that even makes me believe that at the end of the day, it probably wouldn't be possible to create a completely, totally autonomous machine. But then, even when the machines we create, we see how the machines we create other things. But the other things they create are still subject to that machine itself. But there is a similarity along that path. So it's almost like if that information would still be retained in the computers we create, it was almost like when we die, I'm saying to myself, isn't that also indication that we also don't completely disappear? We still exist in maybe not exactly how we exist now, obviously not in our body, because our body does, but we still exist in some form. So it's just something I was thinking about as we're talking. I was like, that's an interesting concept. Especially when she's talking about
Like,
the fact that
you
anything
should.
either created or destroyed.
Yeah, like I mean, there's this video called the egg. It's called the egg. It's one of this YouTube pages I like to watch in the infographic show, and in the egg, it's this dude. He dies, right? And then he sees God, and God, he's standing in God's hand. God, he's like, "Hey, am I dead?" Like, and God's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Look, that's your wife, that's your kids, blah blah blah. This is what happened to them." And God pretty much explains to him that, yeah, even though he died, he's not really dead because imagine if he was living with us, yeah, you, him, everybody that's watching this, it's all the same person. Everybody that's ever existed is all really just one person, like growing. So by living all those lives, by experiencing all those things, this one person is growing and slowly becoming like God that created him, right? So instead of thinking about humanity as, you're an individual, you're an individual, you're an individual, it's like, no, we're all just one entity that's experiencing life over and over in different various. Because that would think about how would you become a godlike concept. You would have to be able to see everything from every single perspective. You know what I'm saying? You would see human life you would experience human life from every single perspective. So in that video, it was pretty much saying at the end of everything, then there's this human, right? Because it's every human that's ever existed, but it's really just one being is slowly becoming like his maker. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was a cool concept. And then, of course, now my new concept of the hive mind God. I think that's also interesting.
But even that's interesting because I'm thinking to myself, even as I mean, is theories like that make people say to themselves, what if at the end of the day we're all just a simulation, to be honest? But then I'm also thinking to myself, the data in the computer that we create, if that data has consciousness, that data doesn't say to himself, I am data. That data says to himself, I exist, that's who I am. You get what I'm saying?
I have. If your Sims had autonomy to think as itself, it's like, hey, I'm Bob. Like, you know what I'm saying?
So even when I hear people say things like, at the end of the day, we could be in a simulation. I say to myself, there could be some truth to that, but personally, I'll then say to myself, but this it may be almost too naive, us not wanting to really push it the extra mile by just limiting the ideas of the simulation or world we're in to our idea of simulation. So we may think to ourselves, we're just somebody's toys, or we're just data, or just. But the idea of a simulation is still congregation of an event at the end of the day. So, okay, for the past few days, I've tried to adopt a mindset where I want to live life like it's a game, but the way we will play GTA think about Mario for instance, where like you have 3 lives, you're conscious of the fact that you have 3 lives, and you're like you don't want to die, or maybe your friends still like you're really fickle about it, you don't really care. When it comes down to that one life, she gets serious. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking to myself, what if I start to think of life as a game, but this game is serious as hell. This is real life, and I have one life. So it then guides my the same way in me playing the game. I'm thinking every move I have to make has to be deliberate. It has to be to get to that finishing point or whatever level I'm in. You get what I'm saying?
What is the finishing point?
Guess we'll find out. But
I mean, no, I'm saying like not when you die, like in the game of life. What is the finishing point? Is there a subjective, objective finishing point for everybody that we're supposed to get to, or is it a subjective, whereas your finishing point is different from my finishing point, is different from this person's finishing point?
I feel that because even when I read the Bible, and the reason why I believe that when people are teaching life and people are teaching the Bible and stuff, they shouldn't teach it as you die, you go to heaven in the end, or you die, eternal life at the end. That it should be, that's literally another level of existence. You know what I'm saying? Even the Bible makes us understand that there are worlds to come. Like there are worlds to come. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I envy people that die. Hey, Safi.
Hey.
Hello. So not that I'm trying to die, but sometimes I envy people that die because I'm like, they know what's up. They know for a fact what actually goes on after. They know the exact particulars of.
Yeah. Death is in death is you have the great truth. You know, that's how, if you ever watch a Full Metal Alchemist, whenever if you don't know what Full Metal Alchemist, it's an anime, but they would meet this god creature, and they would die pretty much, and he would open this door, and in the door they get to just see all knowledge that's ever existed. So I feel like like when people are sad about dying, people are clinging. Like I said, people now we just cling on to life. Like why are we so pressed? Life is cool. I'm not saying you should try and go and die tomorrow, but everybody we just think we create all these drugs to just keep living. You know, when people die, you see if someone has 5 heart transplants. For what reason, bro? Die. Because in death, bro, you know the truth. You know, instead of going into death with fear, like welcome death. Or this guy, Alan Watts, he said we rob ourselves of the death experience. Like death is another experience of life, but we rob ourselves of it because when we go to death, they inject themselves with a bunch of opioids because they want to die peacefully. You know, you rob yourself of the whole experience of going into death. You know, I feel like we should, and like I said, don't go and die tomorrow. I'm not saying go and kill yourself or anything, but don't be so afraid of the concept of death. Yeah, because
It's part of life.
it's part of life, It's probably the best part of life, honestly, because life wouldn't really mean anything if you didn't die. Just like light.
I see
Like you wouldn't know
light.
light. You wouldn't understand light if you never had darkness. Life wouldn't mean anything if you didn't die.
Sometimes even looking at I saw a video today. Someone posted a video of a girl having fun, like just partying and stuff. She was just having fun with friends, was dancing and stuff. I was like, okay, you're having fun. And then the next thing on the story was her on the floor, dead. Like it was almost like it was a minute after, wearing the exact same thing and just there. And initially, it was very jarring for me to see. But then I went back and I was looking at it. I made myself look at it and I was like, I was looking at her there. I'm like, she's dead. Like she's dead. She's not waking up. Supposedly, life in her has disappeared. You get what I'm saying? So I was looking at her face, and especially because her face was intact. I was looking at her face and I was like, if I block everything and I look at her just her face, she looks like she's sleeping. And I was saying to myself, life as complex as we make it, it's very uncomfortable for me to think of that moment in her life as just the end.